morning friends, welcome to Sharekhan pre-market view. Indian markets yesterday after opening it with a gap down were trading in the red for the first half of the day. However, in the second half we saw some sort of pickup coming in the market ahead of the inflation and the IIP data which was to be released. Finally the market ended in the green with Nifty going up by 35 points and Sensex giving a strong gain of about 135 points. If you look at the overnight US markets, the cues aren't that good. Dow index went down for the second day in a row and ended down in the red by about 96 points. Even S&P was down by about 16 points and Nasdaq put on a 39-point decline. The fall was largely because of the fall in the crude oil price, which went down by about 5% in the yesterday's trade, which put on pressure on the energy price. Since the earnings season has also started to kick off there are concerns that the energy shares might overall not perform as per expectation which were there earlier. If you look at the Asian markets, we have mixed Q from Asia. Nikkei is up very strongly, whereas the other Asian markets are trading in the red. Singapore Nifty is indicating a positive opening by about close to 26 points. If you look at the flows continues to be mixed. FIs were seller to the tune of 245 crore in the index future, whereas they were buyer of similar amount, that is 245 crore in the cash market, whereas DIs were seller to the tune of 331 crores. So after having this positive gap up opening, let's have a view from Sadhana as to how Nifty might react for the today's trading session.
Good morning friends, let's have a view on derivatives. Extended their northward journey for third day in a row, the Indian benchmark indices closed the session with a gain of more than 0.5%. As we've seen that Nifty started the session on a flattish to negative note, but very soon it moved into a northward journey, backed by gains in many of the blue chip counters like HUL, IndusInd Bank, L&T, Infosys, which were up in the range of 2 to 4% each. And like in last hour of trade, we have seen that gains in banking, pharma, IT stocks, which supported the index to hit a fresh intraday high at around 8368 odd levels. And finally Nifty ended the session at 8360 levels with a gain of 0.54%. In this period we have seen that marginal long positions built up by market players as open interest has increased by 2.67% from 1 crore 79 lakhs to 1 crore 84 lakhs. Approximately 4.79 lakh shares were added in Nifty futures. Also Nifty futures price increased by 45 rupees. Cost of carry also increased by 41.85% from 6.83% to 9.69%. Also Nifty futures premium increased from 31 points to 37 odd levels. PCR also increased sharply by 5.45% from 1.10 to 1.16%, which is clearly indicating that put option has seen good build-up than call option. In yesterday's trade, we have seen that put option has added around 28 lakh shares in open interest, whereas call option has shedded 6 lakh shares in open interest. India VIX was up by 1%. Initial hour of trade it was up by 7%, but it settled at 1% up. It is increased from 15.95% to 16.11%. In the options activity, we have seen that 8,300, 8,400 has reduced marginal shares in open interest, and that activity was shifted to 8,500 call option. 8,500 call option has added marginal shares in open interest. In the put option side, we have seen that 8,100, 8,200 and 8,300 put option has added good number of shares in open interest in yesterday's trade. There is no security in ban period today, and yesterday in spite of market was up, FIs were net sellers of 244.68 crore in index futures. They were net buyers of 113 crore in index options. They were net sellers of 197 crore in stock futures, and they were net sellers of 8.25 crore in stock options. Our 5-day CM stands at 8250. Lower range for the market would be 8250 and higher range would be 8400. As we have seen that yesterday IIP data came in better than expectations at 3.2. Inflation also has come to 5%, which can be a positive sign for the market. But on the global front, crude oil is trading below the mark of $50, which can be a negative sign. So we may see overall 8,400, 8,420 can act as a stiff resistance. Once Nifty crosses 8,420 levels, we can see more upside in the market. And Singapore Nifty is up by 24%, which is at 83.50 levels. We can see a flattish to positive start in Nifty futures today. That's it from derivatives. Thank you.
Friends, let's have a look at the actionable ideas for the day. The first one being Crompton Greaves. Now, Crompton Greaves yesterday has inked a pact with a French company. They have done a memorandum of understanding with company Aerilis for supply of electronic components to aerospace and defense industry. Now, this opens a very big opportunity for Crompton Greaves given the overall new government's trust on having defense in India. The action would be 1 can long Crompton with stop loss of 184 for potential upside of 197 and above that at 204. Now friends, Ultratech yesterday has dropped out from the race to buy out the Holcim's and Lafarge's global asset. This is extremely positive news since these assets were to the tune of $2 billion and would have put on certain financial stress on Ultratech's balance sheet. So moving out from the race is positive for Ultratech and one can long with its stop loss of 2670 for potential upside of 2765 and above that at 2785. Also in a recent move, Modi government has come out with a move to allow dual usage of social and commercial infrastructure in the non-processing SEZ unit. Now this would be extremely positive for Adani Port since they were looking to monetize the land assets at the Mundra SEZ capacity. So one can long Adani Port with stop loss of 324 for potential upside of 335. Moving on to important news, yesterday we had a couple of news coming in. First being IIP was announced yesterday. The growth came in at 3.8% versus estimate of close to 2 and 2.8%. And CPI also surprised on the downside. The expectation was that CPI would come in at 5.2. However, the CPI was closer to 5%. So overall, positive macro data continuing to come in. Moving on the corporate front, Max India's board has delegated the authority of investment and financial committee to examine a corporate restructuring plan. Now, what exactly that move would be is very difficult to tell, and the reply is keenly awaited. However, we feel that some kind of restructuring could be done in terms of getting PE player for their specialty business. Also, recently, its foreign partner, which is Bupa, has shown its intent to increase its stake in the insurance arm that they hold in Max from 26% to 49%. Also, Delhi Assembly election dates have been announced yesterday. The election would be held on 7th of February, with the results being announced on 10th February. Yera Infra has backed a road order worth rupees 329 crore. This is for rehabilitation and upgradation of National Highway 216 in Chhattisgarh. Also, there are a couple of news on Cipla. The first one being that Cipla might restart supplying anti-HIV drug to National Aid Control Organization. The company in the past had stopped bidding for tenders in this segment. And in a setback to Cipla, the Delhi High Court has issued an injunction order in favor of Novartis, asking Cipla to stop selling the cheaper version of the drug, respiratory drug, on press. However, there is some respite here as well that Cipla can sell the remaining stock which the company is holding right now. Jaguar and Land Rover had announced their December 2014 global retail sales, and the volumes are up 1.8% YOY, and the sales came in at 41,392 units. Maruti Suzuki India is eyeing 20% growth share in terms of the export in the current fiscal year, which would mean about 1.2 lakh units. The company till December has exported over 92,000 vehicles. Also, GMR Infra has started roadshows for unit that is Delhi International Airport Limited, made an overseas bond issue. The company has planned to raise about close to 290 to 300 million, which turns out to close to 1800 to 1864 crore in the dollar bond front, and this amount would be utilized to repay the debt which the company has. Also, Biocon has concluded sale of 10% stake in its research arm Syngene for close to 380 crores to IVF trustee company private limited. The patent dispute between US pharma-based major, that is Bristol Myers and Squibb, and Indian pharma company Natco Pharma has finally ended, with both amicably settling the dispute on the hepatitis B drug. Also, government has cleared 30 projects of firms like GAIL India and ONGC to help monetize about 2.6 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve. This is expected to result in exploitation of about 34 million barrels of oil and about 0.7 trillion cubic feet of gas. Also, research firm Gartner has said that the global IT spending this year is expected to grow just by 2.4%. From the earlier projection of 3.9% due to strengthening of the US dollar amongst other reasons. This could put some sort of pressure on the overall IT sector. Also, friends, there are a couple of more news. The first being that Kaladevi Maran is likely to finalize a SpiceJet stake sale in another week. The company is led by a consortium with Ajay Singh is expected to invest close to 1200 crore, largely to cover up all the liabilities. Also, SpiceJet is likely to lay off close to 1000 employees, and they have missed the Jan 10 deadline to clear December wage dues of the junior staff. Also, friends, we have a couple of more news. That is, we have latest released alpha pick, that is Tata Chem. Now, since the result season has begun, we have a couple of important numbers which are going to be announced from the banking sector. The first being IndusInd Bank. The estimated PAT here is about 451 crores, and DCB, the estimated PAT is close to 43.6 crore. Moving on to the stock watch list for today, stock with positive bias we have Dr. Reddy's, UBL and Axis Bank, whereas stock with negative bias we have LIC Housing Finance and iGood Finance. That's it, friends, we have in today's session. Thank you.